Okay, well, good morning. Both myself and Supervisor Warren Slocum, I'm really proud to co-chair this Home for All initiative. And over the past 3 years, Home for All has brought together people from all sectors of our community to talk about housing challenges and ways to move forward to address those challenges. We've discussed ways to create more homes that people can afford so that we can do that so people who work here to enjoy San Mateo County and work for all of our agencies can be closer to their jobs, and hopefully that would help with this obvious massive traffic congestion we're all having to deal with. I think we have really been pretty successful over the last, I guess it's been about 3 or 4 years that we started this project, and in any case we've seen subsequent to that an increase in the number of multi-family housing units that are being developed. We've seen an increase in the number of second units being permitted and built, and really an expansion of home sharing as well. And we've created a number of things. I think I actually have sent to other parts of the country. Our second unit inspiration book, the second unit workshop, the calculator where you can find out where you can find it on our website, and actually tells you what you can anticipate the cost of building a second unit. And all of our local jurisdictions have continued to create second unit ordinances that will really make it a lot easier to really streamline that process. And we think that is really a great movement that really can help in a really fairly short period of time. Some of these other projects that we work on take years to develop, but those ADUs can be developed in a really fast way. The other thing that we have done, I think I'm really proud of, is the community engagement process that we've done in a number of cities. I think we've done actually, last year we had 4 pilots, and I think the total number is in the neighborhood of about 12. What it really helps, and we don't actually, or at least the community engagement processes don't actually talk about an actual project, because if you do that, you end up with, the proponents and the opponents, and there's nothing but a fight. But if you sit down with people from all segments of that community and really talk about the need of housing and how it could really enhance your community and really make your community more vibrant, they've been really very successful. I went to one, I've actually gone to a couple, and mostly my city, one of my cities is, 2 of my cities are really noted for opposing everything. I won't name them, Half Moon Bay and Pacifica, but in any case, the Pacifica ones are remarkable. That there have been really contentious issues, and I know one of the convenience, it was they're sitting round tables with different people, and they're asked to introduce themselves to the person that they don't know. And one of the people, when Bill Lowell talked about this, she said her stomach was in knots because she was afraid it was going to be a fight. And at the end of the evening, she realized it wasn't a fight. It was really talking about the needs of different folks in that community. It's made a remarkable difference. Last night, I went to the Pacifica School Board. They're looking at building teacher housing. That's a really complicated thing for a school district. They have a site that they're going to turn into, I think it's about 70 units of housing, and one of the things that's happened, and Heather's the superintendent from Pacifica, one of the things that's happened is that the initial estimated cost was about $14 million. Now it's escalated to $26 million. So you imagine, put yourself in a position of somebody who is on a school board with your dedication is to make sure that children are educated, and now you have to deal with housing, and you have to figure out how we're going to make this work. I think they're going to, they've shown a lot of political courage. They're actually going to go ahead and do it, and it's going to make a significant difference. So one other story about the evening before, I was in one of the convenings in Pacifica, and one of the city council persons who has young children said, "You know what? I just lost my kids lost their teacher this year. She can't live here, so she's moved. My kids are going to have a new teacher." And so that's one of the things that's really made that little project go. So with that, I'm going to introduce my co-chair, the great Warren Slocum.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Supervisor Horsley. I just wanted to let you know that you deviated, Mr. Horsley. You deviated totally from the script that we have here. Now I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to start. But in any case, Morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. It's great to see such a large crowd with smiling faces. And let's just give it up for the organizers who made sure we had coffee and food. You know, these convenings have drawn about 160 members of our leadership community to each of the convenings that we've held, and each has brought both returning and new attendees. How many here this morning have never been to a convening first time at Home for All meeting? Raise your hands. There you go. Well, thank you. Home for All has, as Susan Clark and I were just talking, this movement has really grown from its early days a few years ago to all of you being here at these convenings. It's appreciated. Home for All has been to library conversations, city council meetings, trainings for planning commissioners, gathering of school superintendents, workshops on the more technical aspects of our work, and presentations to residents who are interested in learning more about building second units themselves and other types of housing issues. We estimate that we have, listen to this, we estimate that we have reached hundreds more of our community members through a variety of outreach methods. Our progress is heartening, but there is still, as you all know, a lot more to do. We have to continue to work hard, we have to stay the course, we have to resist the temptation, as we often do in government, of getting scattered and losing sight of our core mission, which is what? What is it here at Home for All? Build more, there you go, build more housing. And so there's a lot to do at every level of affordability, obviously, in San Mateo County. But one of the keys we have in building this movement is to bring together all of us to learn and talk together. And as Supervisor Horsley said, when you do that in a community like Pacifica, you can be amazed at the possibilities and the results when people get together, talk in a civil, problem-solving sort of way. So thank you, Supervisor Horsley, for everything you do to get more housing built here in the county. And thank you to those of you who have joined us this morning from all the different convenings and all the different cities and all the different organizations. We really do appreciate you being here. So just welcome, relax. We're going to have some fun today. Why do I say that? We're going to have some fun because today we're going to talk about developing neighborhood support for new housing insights and for addressing the age-old issues of parking and congestion. I was telling a couple of people who would listen to me this morning that the traffic was so bad on my street this morning that I couldn't even get out of my driveway. Really, I'm serious. And then I got out of the driveway, and Don knows where I live. He can kind of visualize it, but there was a line of traffic on the street, and then there was a line of traffic on the street that you have to stop at to turn left or right, and the line was down Roosevelt. It was and I called my wife because we live next to a school, and it's all that school traffic, right? And I was telling Jim earlier, I called my wife from the car and said, Maria, you really have to do something about this traffic around these schools. And, you know, she's not an early riser. She's not a morning person, frankly. And she had a couple of choice words, which were, well, it's going to get worse, brace yourself, and she hung up. How you like that? But we are going to talk about parking and congestion, which is something that all of us here at any meeting we go to with neighborhoods and community is parking's a problem and traffic's a problem. And we all know that. Well, just a little glimpse back in history. In January, we did highlight the work that Home for All is doing with the cities and to support early conversations, as Don said, about what residents value in their communities and how they view the need for housing. In March, we brought together the Frameworks Institute. Don't you just love the Frameworks Institute? Yeah, give it up. We brought the Frameworks Institute back to San Mateo County to share insights about how to effectively build public understanding in a variety of housing-related issues. And so now we're moving to focus on the project level. How do we successfully engage neighbors and build support for housing when it is being proposed in their neighborhood? And believe me, I've been to a lot of neighborhood meetings with where is Melissa Platt? I saw her earlier. When Melissa was building her housing units in North Fair Oaks, the neighbors, oh my goodness, the series of meetings we had and things we had to do. It can be pretty rough out there, which is one of the reasons that we had to think of a new way to do business, right? We needed to recalibrate how we think about and do housing. So, as I mentioned, we're moving now to the project level, and how do we successfully engage neighbors and build this support? And neighbors bring a wide range of benefits, questions, and concerns to these conversations, obviously. And the convening today will focus on those, particularly, as I mentioned, parking and traffic. And maybe today, if we all put our heads together and do a little learning, we can take steps to solve these issues of parking and congestion. So, welcome. I'm sure that you're all going to find this has been a worthwhile investment of your time. Thank you for getting up at dark 30 and getting here. For those of you that aren't morning people, we appreciate you being here. And with that, I'm going to turn the microphone, I think, over to Pat Brown. And everybody knows Pat Brown, right? So let's give it up.
Thank you, sir. For those who don't know me, I am Pat Brown, and I have been working with the Home for All initiative from the beginning, and it's been my honor to be the lead facilitator in these convening sessions, where most of the work that goes on behind the scenes prepares us for today. And I think you're going to have a very different kind of experience today than we've had in other convenings, and hopefully find it very useful. So I'll add my welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being at your tables. I'm ready to get going as we're getting started. I'm the lead facilitator, meaning I'm up in front and kind of watching the clock and all of that, but I want to acknowledge that at every table you have a table facilitator, and these are folks mostly from San Mateo County, staff from San Mateo County. If you just raise your hand at your table, the table facilitators, they're there to help you have a very good experience this morning, be able to engage with each other and hear what others have to say about this topic. So thank you, table facilitators, for joining us this morning. I'm just going to say this is a great facility for us. We've been here this is our 6th gathering. It is not a facility where there are a lot of restroom facilities. So if you need to take care of yourself, we have a break, you know where money is. We have a break planned, but don't wait for the break. Take care of yourself during the morning. There's lovely refreshments in back. If you need to use the facilities, please do that. And we'll just keep going through the morning. So traditionally at these meetings, we do a little exercise that gets your blood flowing a little bit. It's a stand-if exercise to see who's in the room. So we're going to do that now very, very quickly. So please stand if you have observed parking or congestion issues in your own neighborhood, Warren. Oh, whoa, okay. Down you go. Please stand if you've ever talked with a neighbor or a friend about parking or traffic in your neighborhood. So not only your own, or your wife. Okay, down you go. Have you been involved in a discussion about parking or congestion as a developer or a landowner? Okay, some have had that experience. Great. Have you participated in a discussion about parking or congestion as an advocate for a project? Okay, there we have others. Look at that. That's a good representation. Participated in a discussion as a policymaker. Okay. I think this may be pertinent information for you this morning. Have wished for some tools to help this discussion be a bit more productive. Okay. There we go. We're going to hope to give you at least some ideas and thoughts about that this morning. So I'm now going to turn over to the table facilitators the opportunity for you to introduce yourselves at your tables. So please do that. Okay. I think we're okay to go ahead and get this program on the road here. So I'd like to go over the purpose of the meeting. The supervisors did that already, but our emphasis this morning is going to be on constructive engagement in the community, in the neighborhood, around parking and congestion issues. We're going to try to provide you with different insights from people who've had experience doing this. There are no best practices that we've discovered that work every time, but this is to sort of stimulate the thinking that you engage in as you're working in the neighborhoods. So we're going to have a group of speakers who are going to provide their insights. Let me turn my page. We're going to learn about how to reach out to neighbors when they are considering the development in their community, and practice. This is really something that we've learned from the community engagement work that we've been doing in Home for All. It's really important to understand how information is provided to people with different levels of need. So we're going to spend some time on that this morning. Just an overview of the agenda. We have this pattern that we've used for the convenings. We have a presentation, and in this case it will be a panel presentation and discussion, then an opportunity for you to sort of debrief and talk about that at your tables. We'll have a presentation from Common Knowledge, one of our partners in a lot of the work that's been going on with Home for All, and then another opportunity for work at the table. So it'll be kind of a back and forth morning, and we hope that you will get very engaged with it. We have a break scheduled for a little after 10, as I mentioned, but also just take care of yourself as you need to. In your packet in front of you, we always like to tell you what you've got there. So, you have an agenda. You have bios for the speakers. They are a very selected group of people that are here with you this morning. I will introduce them by name, but I won't go into their whole background. But there's lots of information for you there. You have a Home for All brochure and some glossaries that we have developed. Presenters' support materials. Some of our presenters provided us with additional information that we're sharing with you. Importantly, you have a meeting evaluation form, and we're going to be reminding you towards the end of the meeting to pull that out and begin writing down on it. This is no lie. We go over those evaluations every single time and have tried to learn from them to make these gatherings as productive and beneficial as possible. You also have a progress report from Home for All, what we've accomplished in the last 2 years. So that is there for you to take home. Just a note, we have 2 opportunities for questions this morning after the panel and the first round of information, and then after the presentation by Common Knowledge. You have question cards at your tables. Your table facilitators will make those available to you. We'll be collecting them and then sharing them up in front here. So if you have questions that come up, please jot them down and we'll try to get to them. So now it's my pleasure to introduce Peggy Jensen. Peggy is the Deputy County Manager for San Mateo County, and she has been our leader in the Home for All initiative from the very beginning, and she's going to give you some background information on Home for All.
Thank you very much, Pat, and good morning and welcome, everyone. Since many of you are familiar with Home for All, I'll just go over a very high-level review. As you know, we are a community collaborative. We started out probably about 3.5 years ago under the direction of Supervisor Horsley and Supervisor Slocum, with 54 community members who came together for the Closing the Jobs Housing Gap Task Force, and Home for All grew out of that. How many of you were members of the original task force? How many of you have been with us since the beginning? So thank you very much. You all are the founders of the work that we've been doing or continue to do as a result of the work you all put in the beginning. So let's talk about progress. Those of you who've been involved in some of our events know that we are making progress on closing the jobs housing gap. When we started back in 2014, the number was 24 to 1. There were 24 new jobs in San Mateo County created in the prior 4 years to every single housing unit that had been developed. That number has dropped to 12 to 1 in 2017. Bill Lowell is our statistician, our numbers gatherer. He tells me any day now we should have the numbers for 2018, and we hope that those numbers continue to go in the right direction. And how have we made progress? Well, we've made progress by developing and adding all different types of housing in San Mateo County. From second units, a lot of the communities here have updated their second unit regulations. We've seen a nice uptick in the number of permits from about 40 a year to over 250 last year. We have affordable housing that's being built throughout the community, and we also have a lot of transit-oriented development projects. So all types of housing are contributing to closing the jobs housing gap. Specifically, we just got some numbers last week. Thank you, Sandy, for CCAG for contacting every single planning department in the county, all 20 cities plus the county. What this chart shows, and I realize the numbers are slightly small for those of you in the back, but between 2014 and 2018, this is the completed, under construction, permitted, and projects in the planning pipeline. So when you add those four categories together, there are 23,500 housing units in under production or recently completed in San Mateo County. I think the important thing I'd like to... And that appreciation goes out to the Board of Supervisors, but also every single city in San Mateo County, because that work is being done by every city. The other thing I'd like to point out is that the portions of the blue column are market rate housing, and the portions that are green are below market rate, are affordable, what we would consider affordable housing units. I think the most exciting thing to me is a significant uptick in the number of affordable units that are in the planning pipeline. When you add those 2,000, almost 2,300 units together with the others that are permitted and under construction and completed, that will be about 5,000 new affordable units in San Mateo County. So I think that deserves another round of applause. So what does it take to develop housing? The Board of Supervisors, it takes funding, obviously. You have to have money to develop housing. And I want to acknowledge Supervisor Slocum, Supervisor Horsley, and their colleagues for contributing over $110 million to the development of affordable housing in San Mateo County. At our budget meetings coming up later in June, we anticipate that there will be even more funding contributed to that. So that number may go as high as $150 million by the end of this fiscal year and for the upcoming 2 fiscal years. You also need to have housing policies that are supportive to the development of housing. And all communities in San Mateo County have adopted new policies ranging from impact fees to inclusionary zoning to redoing their second unit regulations, which has also contributed to the development of those units. You also need to have land, the third ingredient. We are working with church organizations, school districts, as the supervisor said, up in Pacifica, all sorts of different groups. The cities are also looking at what surplus land, what available land they have to develop additional housing. And finally, no housing gets developed without community support. And developing community support is something Home for All has been working on, and what we've learned is that it is all about communication, which is why all 3 of our convenings this year, from frameworks and on our including our first convening, have focused on different aspects of communicating about housing. Why is communication so important? Why is community input a significant part of our housing development process? Because it occurs at every step in the process. Home builders initially have a concept. They'll oftentimes meet with the neighbors to talk about and get feedback from the community. When that project, home builders work with city and town staff or meet with city and town staff often meet with the community to get feedback. So they have to communicate with the community and have to listen to them. When these projects go to the Planning Commission, community shows up to express their concerns or express, in some cases, their support for the project. And projects that are appealed beyond the Planning Commission go to the city or town council, where again, communication about the project is extremely important. And what are most residents who participate in the development process concerned about? Parking and traffic congestion in their neighborhood, on their streets. And actually, one of the things that I've come to be more aware of, particularly from our community conversations and specifically in San Mateo, is that the congestion on our highways are exacerbating people's concerns about traffic in their neighborhood and congestions in their communities. You all know the numbers. Those of you who have attended prior convenings know that I think my probably legacy contribution to Home for All is a statement of how many Oracle Parks we have commuting into the county every day. So those of you who have been here, how many is it? 5? That's right. So, so that is one of the compounding reasons that neighborhood traffic concerns. So when neighbors see a plan for more housing from second units to TOD, they immediately think about how it's going to affect their personal commute. Are they going to get their kids to school on time? Is it going to take them longer to go to the shopping center? Will there be multiple cars parked in front of their house? Will they be able to get out of their drive like poor Supervisor Slocum this morning? They simply don't believe that more people are taking the train or walking or biking. And if they are, they don't live anywhere near them. And they also don't think that everyone isn't driving a car every day, everywhere. So we have a challenge. I'd like to turn just a little bit. I'd like to share a video with you that was produced. Can we go to the next one? The video was produced by the City of Pacifica. Do we have folks from Pacifica here? There you all are. They had a great meeting last Tuesday night. They had 92 people show up on a rainy, wet, cold night to talk about housing. And I think they did fabulous outreach for this. But one of the things that they did, which was pretty unique, was they developed a video to invite people and tell them. And it was developed by Josh Montmayor, as a member of their planning department. I'd like to share this video with you as an example of creative outreach, but also I think it explains the concept and the approach we're taking with these community conversations. So let's see if it works. So that was a wonderful, and that was actually the first video that was developed for these meetings. So we want to thank Pacifica. I know we've shared it. It's a model we're sharing with all of our cities. So Home for All, working along with Common Knowledge and PCRC, have helped 7 cities have community conversations, just like the one that was held in Pacifica this past week. But those conversations are just the start. In those conversations, as you've heard from the supervisors, the community members are identifying the values, what they value about their community, and they're usually talking about what types of housing opportunities are consistent with their values. But after those conversations, the next step is talking about specific projects, or maybe changes to parking requirements as part of their ordinances. And it's those conversations where parking and traffic will become truly the significant issues. And it's in those conversations, if those of us who are interested in having more housing built in San Mateo County can't talk effectively about parking and housing, then the people who have concerns about this aren't going to listen to us, and they are not going to possibly change their mind or at least moderate their opposition. So simply put, concerns about parking and traffic are the primary, I think, are the primary obstacle to adding more housing in San Mateo County. And I want to say that we've done the research. Our wonderful Home for All team has done the research on this. We talked to frameworks. We asked them if they could even do some work around this for us, but they said that that wasn't something they could do within our time frames. So nobody has really figured out the key to talking effectively about parking and housing yet. but we feel this is too important not to try, which is why we've gathered you all here today and gathered this impressive panel and our common knowledge friends to help us start working on this important issue. So thank you for coming today, and hopefully we can all go together forward and make progress.